All right, so I've got another book haul for y'all. I believe the last one I did was in December, so that was like my December slash Christmas book haul. So I haven't done one since then, so these are basically all the books that I've gotten since January and February. And let me know what you guys think of this setup. I've got some music playing in the background. It's just my classical music playlist, just on shuffle. So let me know what you guys think about that. But basically, yeah, I'm just gonna show off all the books that I've gotten in the last few months. And I believe if I counted right, it's a total of 33 books. So I've got a lot to show y'all. I've read some of these, and a lot of these I'm going to be reading very soon, and I'm excited for all of these. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's go ahead and start with the ones that are just the closest to me, and you can clearly see what this book is. Led Zeppelin, the Biography by Bob Spitz. This was kindly gifted to me by Patrick, a good friend of mine from Discord. He knows that Led Zeppelin is my favorite band, so he thought I would really like this, and he's also very interested in my opinion because he's read several Led Zeppelin biographies in the past. So he's wondering if there's any kind of new information that even, like me, like a big Led Zeppelin fan, doesn't know about. So very excited to get to this. I will actually be reading this in March, so very excited. I also picked up Betty White's biography or memoir. I picked it up after she died. I was perusing my local used bookstore and I just happened to find this, and yeah, so I'll give it a shot someday. Everyone loves Betty White, right? And then I picked up a few books from Jordan Sonnenblock, who is the author of one of my all-time favorite books, Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie. And obviously, I already own this book, but I've never seen this cover before, so when I found it, I had to snag it. So I've already talked about this book a lot, so it was basically just, oh, I don't have this edition. So I bought it. And then this was a new book that came out in February, and this is by the same author. It's called The Boy Who Failed Show and Tell. I read it last month and thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. It's based on the author's life, and I just thought it was very fun, very charming. So it's yet again another one of his books that I will be rereading a lot in the future. And then I got another one of his books that I've never read, Falling Over Sideways. And of course, it's got a saxophone on it, so I'm sure it's going to be musically involved like a lot of his books are. So of course, I'm very excited to read that. And then we've got some more horror-related books. And I decided to pick up The Dark Trials by T. James Kelly after I watched Andrew's live show author interview. And the author seems like a cool dude, and the book seems like it's really good. I think it's like a paranormal young adult book, so I think it's going to be really good. Hopefully I can get to it soon. And then, of course, Stephen Graham Jones. I believe I bought this back in January. I can't quite remember, but I will definitely be reading this in March, and I'm very excited for that, obviously, because he's one of my new favorite horror writers. Probably my second favorite after Stephen King, of course. But yes, I really don't have any idea what this is about, so. And it's a little novella, so going in completely blind. I also bought this back in January at my local used bookstore. It's called The Haunting Season, and it's just 8 ghostly tales for long winter nights. Not sure if I'll get to it soon, just because I probably should have read this when it was, in January or colder, but it's starting to warm up here in Virginia, so probably something I'd wait for next winter to read, maybe. Ungodly by Braden Riddick. I've heard a lot of great things from a lot of great people about this book. At the moment, the premise is kind of slipping my mind, but I do know that it's supposed to be a very good horror novel, so I will definitely read it sometime in the future. And that's my caveat with all of these books, of course. Not guaranteeing I will read them at a certain date, just whenever I feel like it. I also don't know why I put this book here, but we have Boy's Life by Robert R. McCammon. I decided to pick this book up after I was on Baron from Your Brain on Books. I was on his Discord and I saw that he was doing a read-along for this book. And after hearing him discuss about it and a lot of people saying that it's very closely, not tied to, but it reads a lot like Stephen King. So I decided to go ahead and pick it up and join the read-along. And I stopped at about 143 pages. I kind of hit a reading slump, so I stopped reading it. But I do want to eventually pick it back up because while it wasn't like my favorite read, I could tell that it was going to be decent and pretty good. So I hope to finish it sometime soon. And then this is a completely different book than what I would normally pick up. I believe it's a manga. It's called Parasite by Hitoshi Iwaki. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I've never read manga before. It's never really interested me. I don't like books with like a lot of pictures in them. I like to try to visualize it myself. But it'll be fun to, step out of my comfort zone a little bit and try something new. And this is supposed to be one of the best like horror mangas. And I also wanted one that didn't have like a billion volumes. I think this only has like 12 or so. So if I do like it, it won't be that much money. So I'm excited to try this sometime in the future. And then we have George R.R. Martin, In the House of the Worm. This is sort of like a comic book version of it. And this is one of the stories that he wrote back in the late 70s, early 80s. It's a very cool story, and it also has some interesting aspects that are kind of related to A Song of Ice and Fire. And so if you're interested in that, I would definitely read this story and possibly even pick up this comic book. I'm definitely interested to see how well they adapt the story. And yeah, so interested to try that out in the future. Okay, now my lazy ass has to sit down. There we go. Here we go. Now I've got some fantasy books to show y'all, and actually this stack is all by one author. It's Bradley P. Bulio, and he's the author of the Song of Shattered Sand series, which I really like. I've read the first 4 novels and 1 novella, and so I decided to pick up all the rest of his novellas after I learned that they were available on paperback. I always thought they were just Kindle only for some reason, but when I saw on Amazon that they were all available, I snagged them up because they were relatively cheap. So we've got, and I believe all of these are in chronological order. We've got The Tattered Prince and The Demon Veiled. We have The Doors at the Dusk of Dawn. We have The Village Where Bright Wine Flows. And we have The Flight of the Whisper King. And the last one, we have A Wasteland of My God's Own Making. So these will definitely be some good palate cleanser fantasy novellas. Whenever I'm in the mood, I can just read one of these, because they're all about like 90 to 120 pages-ish. So they're very quick reads. And then I picked these books up from Evie, from She Was Only Evie, because she was selling some of her books that she was getting rid of. So when I saw his name, I was like, oh yeah, I might as well pick that up. I've never really even heard of this series. So we've got The Winds of Kalikovo. We've got The Straits of Galahesh. And we've got The Flames of Shaddam Corey. And I probably butchered all those names, but it's fantasy, so oh well. But yeah, definitely excited to get to all of these because he's definitely turning into one of my favorite fantasy authors. And then we've got another stack of fantasy books here. And we have Memories of Ice, which is book 3 in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And I recently read Dead House Gates. It was 4 stars. It was pretty good. I was supposed to read this in March, but I don't know. I'm probably just gonna take my time with Malazan. I wanted to try to read one book a month, but it's just too much. Like, I think I'm probably gonna read this in April. Just because I think one book a month for Malazan is too much for me. So yeah, because this one is a chunky beast, like 900 pages with very tiny font. So I'm not really in the mood for something like that this month. So let's read that in April. And then this finally came, Dawn Shard by Brandon Sanderson. This is the Stormlight novella that I think you're supposed to read before book 4, Rhythm of War. But I pre-ordered it a while ago. I think it was originally supposed to come in November, but for some reason it's coming in February. I don't know, but I'm interested in reading it because it actually has one of my favorite characters in it, and I don't know if saying it would be a spoiler, so I won't say it, but it has one of my favorite characters, so that'll be fun to read. And then we have how do you say that? Perdido Street Station by China Melville. I've really only heard good things about this from my good buddy Narsel over on Discord, and he seems to like this. What are y'all dogs doing? Hey! Chill out. Stop it. All right, calm down. Anyway, I've really only heard good things about this book from my good friend Narsel from Discord. He seems to really like the writing style and the world building and the fantasy creatures. Like this book's supposed to have very good fantasy creatures. So that'll be fun to read. My copy's a bit butchered because I bought it used, but oh well. I'll get to it eventually, but no promises, of course. And then also Heroes Die by Matthew Woodring Stover. And speaking of Narsel, he says this book reads a lot like Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch, which kind of makes sense because he said that this author and Scott Lynch are good buddies. So that makes sense. So I am excited to get to this book eventually. And we have The Company by KJ Parker. I've heard Alan and a lot of other booktubers talk about him for like the past few months. So I've been interested in picking up something by him, but a lot of them were like novellas that were like really expensive. And I'm like, I'm not paying that much money for a novella. But I heard Alan talk about this in a recent video and it sounded really good. And I was able to find it on thrift books for relatively cheap. So whenever I decide to read KJ Parker, this is going to be the one I read. Yeah, it sounds really good. So thank you, Alan, for recommending that book. And then She Dreams in Blood by Michael R. Fletcher. This is the sequel to what's the book title for book 1? Blackstone Heart. Yeah, it's the sequel to Blackstone Heart, and I really enjoyed Blackstone Heart. I gave it 4.5 stars. Wasn't perfect, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm very interested to see where this book goes. And I've heard that the ending to this book is bonkers, so I'm definitely interested in getting to it. If I can, I'd like to read it in March, because I hear that the book 3 comes out in April or May, so sometime soon. So hopefully I can get to this pretty soon. All right, I can stop being lazy for a minute here and go to these last books here. So these, I think most of these are thrillers. Let's start with these. Carrion Slaughter, I've heard good things about from 2 good friends of mine, Sharon and Stacy, of course. Pieces of Her, I think that's one that neither of them have read. I think I just decided to pick this up because it was also at my local used bookstore. But Pretty Girls was, Stacy read this book, and she really liked it. She thought it was very good. And then Sharon read The Good Daughter. So, yeah, I was at my local used bookstore, and I just decided to pick up a few of her books because they were very cheap. So, I will get to her eventually. And then speaking of Stacy, this was a book that was on our TBR swap that I decided to pick up and read, and I'm very glad I did so because, man, this book was just, it was really good. I didn't quite give it 5 stars because I thought the ending was just, it wasn't quite how I wanted it to end, but man, like the first chunk of this book was just nonstop action and reveal after reveal. It was super entertaining. I read it very quickly. Definitely one of the best books I've read this year. And so yeah, great book, Passengers. This is not a thriller. Final Revival of Opal and Nev. This is supposed to be a very good kind of, I think it's been compared to Daisy Jones and the Six, which is of course one of my favorite novels of all time. It's supposed to be a music related book. At the moment I can't quite remember what it's about. Okay, black punk artist before her time, coming of age in Detroit. She can't imagine settling for a comfortable job despite her unconventional looks. Opal believes she can be a star, so when British songwriter Neville Charles discovers her at a bar's amateur night, she takes him up on his offer to make rock music together for the fledgling Rivington Records. So yes, I tend to like music-related books, if y'all couldn't tell, so when I found this pretty cheap, used, I decided to pick it up, and I definitely will be reading this sometime soon. Very excited for that. And then we have a couple books I got for Book of the Month. I got Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I really liked the book that I read last year by her, The Wife Upstairs. I've heard mixed things about this book though, so I was hesitant to pick it up, but I just decided to add it as an add-on because add-ons are like $10, so I was like, what? It'll be worth it just to see what I think about it. And then the last book I have to show y'all is also Book of the Month. It is The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. I don't quite remember what the premise of this is, but that's a good thing though, because that's how I like to go into thrillers most of the time, knowing as little as possible. So yeah, I will read this eventually. Yeah. All right, back to sitting down. Okay. So yeah, those are all of the books that I bought in the last few months. So hopefully y'all enjoyed me talking about the books that I bought in the last couple of months. Yeah, I'm going to try to, of course, every booktuber says like, oh yeah, I'm going to try not to buy so many books, but it's inevitable that we buy more books. But hopefully there won't be another one for a while, because Lord knows I have too many books as it is. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking all of these books out, and I've already read some of these, and they were very good. So yeah, that's my, I don't even know what to call this, just January, February book haul. Let's go with that. Please let me know if you guys have read any of these books, and if you enjoyed them or you hated them, please let me know either way down in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and the Bookish Drummer Discord. And if you'd like to further support me financially, go check out my Patreon and see what that's all about. But anyway, thank you so much for watching and have a terrific day.